Almost 5 years ago, I decided to quit tech and make a significant career change. I didn't know back then that I was making a change that will not only affect my career, but fundamentally change my approach to business and leadership. Before I move on, I want to say, my case is a little bit untypical. Nowadays, people are rather trying to move to tech, not from it. Nevertheless, my experience is still valid, and my learnings will help you even if you aspire a different career shift. This story starts in 2018. I was working as a senior project manager in tech. I would say I was quite a confident professional in my field. I like the job. Tech is interesting to me. I have my bachelor degree in engineering, and also I come from a family of physicists and engineers, so I was kind of surrounded by technology from a very young age. But from the moment in my career when I started managing people, managing teams, I started to notice something. I observed how the way managers around me were managing their teams sometimes made a bigger difference than their technical decisions. I also saw back then how many people kind of underestimated people management and were so carried away by technologies that they neglected a people side of work. So importance of people management was always super clear to me. And by the way, despite me being a digitalization ambassador, I'm absolutely convinced that people are always primary and technologies are always secondary. Also, people-related functions in business appeared more soft skill heavy to me, and soft skills are something that is usually rather hard to train and develop, and I knew about myself that I had a good potential there. Finally, at that point of my career, I already felt that experiencing only one function within business can be limiting. If you, for example, only work in IT, you have a rather one-sided look at how business operates. So I actually remember thinking, how cool it would be to learn more about people management. And not just from the shoes of the manager or from books on self-development, but from a function with people who do that for a living. So this is why I wanted to try myself there. My path to HR has begun. And here's the first biggest insight I want to give to anyone who is thinking about changing fields. Your experience is not always transferable, but your skills are. There are so many jobs that look really different at a first glance, but if you look at it from a skills perspective, what skills do you need to succeed on this job? They can be much closer. Some of the hard skills are relatively easy to get, but with soft skills, it's a different story. Development of a soft skill takes time and practice and can be genuinely hard. That's why if you have some, use it. A textbook example of a transferable skill is critical thinking. If you're good at critical thinking, you're able to evaluate and analyze information objectively and make your own unique judgment from it. If you do that, it usually means that you're able to think more deeply about a certain issue, ensuring that you understand it and ready to challenge it. Now, examples of critical thinking being a transferable skills would be a teacher who crafts a curriculum to fit a unique need of their students, an employee who often questions a popular opinion in meetings, or a data scientist who is able to ask unique questions to the original data sets. 3 different jobs, all 3 require a skill of critical thinking. So in my case, this was the first thing that I did. I identified the skills that I already had and looked for ways to transfer it to the new field. Now, here is the second biggest insight that I want to give you. Look for ways to use your experience in a creative ways. Take me, for example. I had an experience in IT, but when I moved to HR, in the end, I moved to the most IT-related side of HR. I was doing HR automation. Basically, in a room of HR people who are usually rather far from technology, I was the most tech IT-related fella. And it was a really good entry point because I was utilizing the experience that I already had at that point. The actual career move took quite some time and effort. With the understanding of the direction I want to move towards and with the evaluation of my own skills and experiences, I was actively looking for a chance within my company for me to try myself in HR. And I don't want it to sound easy because it usually requires a downgrade. So in a career ladder, you take one step down. Less money and often a higher intensity of work. Because when you step into a field you're not that familiar with, you need to learn while working, and it takes an additional time and effort from you. And here's the third biggest insight. Sometimes you don't need to leave your company to try another career direction. Sometimes it's even easier to do that within the company that you already work for. But before you do, you need to understand what is that you want to achieve from a career perspective, and what are your strengths and transferable skills. Start with knowing what you actually want. What don't you like in your current work or field? With career change, it's always to a certain extent a little bit like a leap of faith, but you can mitigate it by at least understanding yourself well. Now, after the years, I can definitely say that because I moved to HR, I for sure learned the logic behind how people function operates. And it's very different from how it looks from employee perspective and even manager's perspective. And it's a priceless experience for a manager and the leader. And in my case, it actually made me care about people I work with much more than I used to before. Also, as a manager, I always knew what I should do with my team. Set goals, reward, support, develop, etc., etc. But after working in HR, I think I obtained the understanding of why should I actually do this. And it did shape me as a leader. I honestly think that I personally care about things like healthy well-being, acceptance of people with different personalities, and fighting biases, because I had an experience of looking at the business from the prism of people function. Finally, this whole experience of switching fields showed me to what extent it's actually possible to make a change in your career if you're ready to put an effort. As a person from corporate, I was always operating, inside the rules. What to do, how to do, what's supposed to be your next career step. And experience of actually breaking these rules is extremely empowering for me. Now I'm actually back in tech, but I successfully worked in HR for several years, and I could continue developing my career there further, as well as I can go back now if I want to. To be very practical, I think that experience of career shifts gives you a certain freedom of choice. You will be simply having wider options, and if you want, you can always go back to your original career path. Whatever you decide, good luck.